Hello, welcome back to another episode of From Prison to the Streets. I'm Eric. I did 11 years in prison and I talk about prison stuff. Today we are talking about prison transports. What is a prison transport like? What does it entail? We're going to get into some details here. So be sure to like and subscribe, and here we go. So, prison transports are similar to what you see in the movies. You're put in belly chains and handcuffs and leg irons, and it's nothing nice. With a prison transport, usually you don't know that you're being transported, that you're being transferred out until the day before. And a transfer can happen for a variety of reasons. Maybe you had a problem with a staff member, or maybe you got into a big fight, or you were the victim of an assault or something like that. If it's severe enough, you'll probably be transported. Sometimes you can put in a request for a transfer if you have a high enough incentive level. I've talked about the incentive level in Kansas in other videos where if you do good and stay out of trouble, you can get your incentive level 3, which comes with some added benefits. One of those benefits is being able to put in a request for transfer to another facility. Now, I was transferred a few times while I was in prison. And like I said, you never know until the night you're getting transferred, the night before you're getting transferred, that you're going to be shipped out. Usually the night before, they will have you pack up all of your stuff and it will be sent down to A&D. An officer will take an inventory of all your stuff, and so that night you have nothing in your cell. If you had a TV or your electronics or anything like that, it's all gone. You just basically have the clothes that you're wearing. The next morning, they wake you up pretty early, usually before they call chow. In Kansas, chow is usually between 3:30 in the morning and 4:30 in the morning. Sometimes a little bit later, depending on what facility you're in. But before they call chow, they'll call you down to A&D. You'll walk down there. You'll go over to A&D, and you'll go through the process of being transferred. Now, being transferred, it's a lot of waiting. You spend a lot more time, it seems, in A&D, admissions and discharge, which is a part of the prison you go to before you're transferred. It seems like you spend a lot more time there than you do on the actual bus, even though that's probably not the case. Sometimes it seems like it, though. But you'll go over to A&D, and, you'll tell them your name and number and all that good stuff, and then they'll strip you out. They'll strip search you. They'll give you a set of oranges to wear. Basically, what I mean by that is an orange jumpsuit. And then you have to wait until the bus gets there and everybody else gets up to A&D, and everybody is accounted for before you get on the bus. When that happens, when it's time to get on the bus, you will be put in leg irons and belly chains and handcuffs. So basically, you have a chain that goes through these belt loops on your oranges, and your handcuffs attached with a D-ring to those belly chains. And then there is also another chain that runs down from your belly chains to your leg irons. Leg irons are just a really big set of handcuffs for your ankles. And then you make your way onto the bus when the bus gets there and you're ready to load up and ship out. Now, usually you don't get to pick where you sit on the bus. They tell you where to sit, and so you'll go sit down and, you'll be ready to go. Also, while you're sitting in A&D waiting for the bus to arrive, you are usually going to be given breakfast, and you can eat breakfast if you choose. Now, I wouldn't recommend eating breakfast before getting on the bus because, you're going to be on the bus for a while. And if you have to use the restroom, it can get kind of awkward on the bus. Usually there is a toilet on the bus in the back. They have a little cage where you can get up and go to the cage and use the bathroom, but you have to ask an officer to let you get up and do all that. So don't eat the night before you're transferred, and don't eat that morning if you can avoid it. You usually don't get the opportunity to choose who you sit with. Sometimes you'll be sitting with another person, sometimes you won't, especially if you're being transferred after you've been in trouble or something like that, and you're being transferred from the hole. You're going to be in a cage to yourself. The old buses and the new buses are a little bit different. When I first came into prison, the transport bus was basically an old Bluebird bus, like an old school bus. Anymore, the buses aren't like that. They, for one, you can't really see out the window. You have pretty much a solid wall right next to you. The only windows are way up high, and you have to stand up to see out the window. And the cops kind of frown on you standing up. In the old buses, you would have a guard standing in the back where the prisoners were, and with the new buses, that's not really the case. The guards ride up front, and then you have a partition between the guards and the inmates. Now, because the windows are so small on the new buses, you don't get a lot of light back there. You have a few little LED lights along the top or bottom of the bus, but, they don't put out much light. They're the running lights. There are bigger lights that come on at a stop, so if you're stopping at a prison and they're loading or unloading, they do have some bigger lights that turn on, but for the most part, they have the lights turned down dim. Now, on every set of seats in the new buses, they have infrared cameras aimed at the seats, so the cops up front can see what you're doing at all times, and they don't need to be back there with you. The black suits, or the cops that are transporting you, are usually well armed. They have sidearms and they have 12-gauge shotguns. But you all load up on this bus, and down the road you go. And you have no idea where you're going usually. They don't tell you what facility you're going to. Typically, although sometimes you can find out from an officer, if you're cool with an officer, they can go in the computer and see where you're going. But a lot of times you don't know where you're going. And you can't see out, so you have no idea where you're at. In most states, I know in Kansas this is true, before you get to your final destination, you go to a central transport hub. Basically, they'll have one prison that acts as a hub where, you'll go on one bus to this transport hub, and then you might get on to another bus to go to a different prison, or another bus to go to Lansing, or a bus to go to Ellsworth or Hutch or whatever. In Kansas, the transport hub is actually Ellsworth. So you would get on a bus in, let's say, El Dorado, and ride the bus to Ellsworth, and then get on another bus to go up to Lansing. But you're usually on this bus for a while. And then when you get to your first stop at the transport hub or whatever, you'll get off, and you'll eat your lunch, and you'll sit around in A&D for a while and wait for the other bus to get there. Then you'll get on that bus and then ride to your final destination. And sometimes it's not clean as that. Sometimes you have to stop at a couple points in between. It's not very fun. And so you're in handcuffs and leg irons all day. It turns into an all-day affair. It's not a short, clean thing. So, when you finally get to your destination, and you're talking about sitting in a dark bus with a bunch of guys for hours at a time, and you finally get to your destination and you get off, then you have to sit in the A&D again and, wait for them to come give you your blues and change you out into your prison uniform and then figure out what cell you're going to. A few other points about being transported that I should bring up. The night before, you have a lot of apprehension and anxiety, especially if you have been at the facility that you're leaving for a long time. You get there and you don't know anybody, but then you build these friendships and relationships over years of being in a facility. You get to know some of the officers, you get a good job, and you become what they call established. Well, when you go somewhere else, you have to start that process all over again. These people have become like your extended family, and, you're leaving them. So I would think it's something similar to going off to college or moving to a new place. And that's what it was like for me, because I was leaving all these friends that I had made over the years and going to a place where I didn't think I knew anybody or anything like that. And then you're thinking about that the whole trip while you're being transported. I don't know anybody. Um, I'm leaving all my friends. When am I going to see these people again? And now I got to start all over and reestablish myself. That's kind of a mentally taxing thing. But usually it is it's more getting in your own head than anything, because when you hit the next compound, chances are if you've done any amount of time, you're going to know somebody there. You're going to have friends that are already there. And, it's like being reunited with your close friends. So it's pretty cool. Another thing to think about, if you're transported a lot, um, like when I was in county, I had to go to mental health appointments every week. So I got transported at least once a week. That's if I didn't have a court date or something like that coming up. And, over time, those leg irons, if you wear them all the time, you'll get scars and stuff because of them. They'll actually start cutting into your flesh. I have scars to this day on the back of my ankles, right around where my Achilles tendon is. So it's not anything nice. It's pretty rough. Anyway, this has been another episode of From Prison to the Streets, just a short video about prison transports. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm Eric. I will see y'all later.